All right, we're going to talk about polynomials. Specifically, we're going to look at factoring when a is not equal to 1. So first up, before we get started, we're going to do some quick review of these exposals here. So we all remember when we set up the exposal, the number on top is the number we want to multiply to. The number on the bottom is what we want to add to. So for this first example, two numbers that multiply to 7 and add to 8 would be 7 and 1. For the next example, this time we have a negative. We have negative 18 and negative 3. So this is going to give us a negative 6 and a positive 3, because negative 6 times 3 is negative 18, but negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. And then for the last one, 12 and negative 7 will give us a negative 4 and a negative 3. All right, so now that we've done a couple warm-ups, let's look at some steps for factoring when a is not equal to 1. So I'm going to go through the steps as I go through the example so we can see how these steps apply to a specific example here. So first thing first, when we set this up, first we got to look for a GCF. So in our polynomial 2x squared minus 13x minus 15, there is nothing that all three terms have in common. So we move on to the second step, create our exposal. So when we set up our exposal, the top number is from multiplying the first and the last term together. 2 times negative 15 is negative 30. And then the bottom number is the middle number, negative 13. So from here, we fill in the exposal. Two numbers that multiply to negative 30 that add to negative 13 are negative 15 and 2. So when we do this, now we move on to step 3, where we fill in the reverse box. I've already filled in the first term and the last term in the top left and bottom right of our reverse box from the polynomial. Now we fill in negative 15 and 2 in the other two boxes. So from here, that is how we fill in the box. Now we need to find the GCFs of the columns and the rows. So I'm going to look at the column on the left, negative 15x and 2x squared. The only thing those have in common is x. Then we have negative 15 and 2x, and that is just a 1. Now we move to the top row, 2x and 2x squared is 2x. And then the bottom row, negative 15 and negative 15x is negative 15. So now I have it set up where we have our positive and negative factor down here. So we just have to fill in the factors correctly. We have the quantity 2x minus 15, and we are multiplying that with the quantity x plus 1. So that is the whole step-by-step process all worked out. Let's look at a couple of their examples. This time, for problem A, we need to first set up the exposal, multiply the first and the last number together. We've got 4. That middle number there is 5. So when we write this out, two numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 5 are 4 and 1. Next up, fill in the reverse box. The first term, 2x squared, goes in the top left. The last term, 2, goes in the bottom right. We have our variables our variable of x in the other two boxes with the answers to the exposal of 4 and 1. It doesn't matter which box you put 4 and 1 in. They're interchangeable. Now we find the GCF of the left column. We've got x. The GCF of the right column is 2. The GCF of the top row is 2x. And the GCF of the bottom row is just 1. So when we write out our factors, we have 2x plus 1 times the quantity x plus 2. And that's it. Let's look at one more example real quick before you get your practice problems to do on your own. For letter B, 6 times 5 is 30. The middle number is 13. Two numbers that multiply to 30 that add to 13 are 10 and 3. So we fill in the reverse box. First term, top left. Last term, bottom right. Answers to your X puzzle go in the other two boxes. Now that we have it all filled in, we find the GCFs of the columns and the rows. The GCF of the left column, 3x. the right column is 5, the top row is 2x, and the bottom row is 1. Write out your factors. 2x plus 1 times the quantity 3x plus 5. And there you have it.